Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
The podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are diving into our first spooky book of the month, it being Halloween month and all.
We welcome you.
Yeah, we welcome you. Yeah, we thought it would be a fun idea. There's been a couple Dracula books recently that have come out. One that is by Image, and it's called it's like part of their Universal Monsters line. So they're doing like the actual, Universal horror monsters like the Mummy, Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein. Yeah, that one's out now too. And so they just put out Dracula in hardcover. It was a 4-issue miniseries. And it was written by one of my favorite creative teams, written and drawn, I should say, by one of my favorite creative teams. And that is the team that does the Department of Truth. So it is written by James Tynion with art by Martin Simmons. And I love Simmons. Simmons is such a good artist. It really fits this Dracula feel. I liked it a lot in this book.
Definitely. I mean, like that was my absolute favorite. And that, I love Dracula as a story overall. I'll go on record saying that I definitely have an affinity for the Dracula story, vampire lore and whatnot. That's definitely that's in my forte. But yeah, his art specifically for this, freaking top notch like that. It definitely works real well. The watercolory, very fantastical and very otherworldly feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I didn't know this book really was. I read the first issue and was like, oh, that was cool. Maybe I'll read the rest of this when it first came out. But I never did. And then I was told that this book is like the story of the character Renfield. Like it's the story of Dracula through his kind of point of view. That is not what this was. Or at least I didn't feel like that's what it was. I feel like that was the mischaracterization of the story or something. But it really does feel like that in the first issue, though, because it does start off with him as like the main character kind of guy. So, yeah, I mean, is there any other preamble we need to get? I think everybody's seen and read Dracula. If you haven't read it, you've seen one of the adaptations of Dracula.
For sure. And I, caveat that, the different adaptations take different liberties. Probably the most well-known would be Francis Ford Coppola's from 92. That's definitely my favorite version. And then that one is
I only remember one part of that movie, and that involved Monica Bellucci.
Hell yeah. For no particular reason.
There was two particular reasons.
There Monica Bellucci and Other Brides are definitely
I don't care about them. It's all about Monica.
For real. That was my first rated R movie was this Dracula, and so yeah, Monica Bellucci holds a special part.
You're like, man, I never thought I'd die like that, but I always really hoped.
Yeah, that's secretly that's where you put it all together. That's why I have this affinity. It's like, damn, is that what vampires are like?
Yeah, I mean, if I don't know if Jonathan would have had the willpower to stand up against them if Dracula hadn't cock-blocked him.
That's true. Wow.
Yeah, if he wasn't like, get out, you whores.
He's mine, goddammit.
Yeah. Yeah, he's my boy.
Does that, what? I mean, so I know Dracula is, he's, obviously thirsting for blood, but also,
he's just thirsty in general.
We'll use the new colloquial meaning of thirsty. He's just thirsty for everybody. That's what I was going to go at. Is he actually an LGBTQ icon? Is he?
I mean, sure. I mean, I think he's kind of beyond
carnal needs.
No. He's got carnal needs, obviously the blood and stuff, but I think he's beyond caring. Like if you were around for thousands of years, John, I think you would get bored with just plain old ladies or whatever you liked. So,
Yeah, we at least whatever, yeah,
you're gonna
whatever
get
your
curious.
normal affinity was, then you might try everything and be like, okay, I've tried it all. Now I just hunger for the blood, and that's all.
Yeah, I mean, you've gone too far when sheeps are involved or whatever. But until then, you stick to the human variety. It's all good. Although he is a wolf, I'm sure he's banged other wolves and other bats and all that stuff. So,
That's horrible. now,
but totally
now
true. That's happened.
that's true. Now we need an adaptation version.
This ain't Dracula XXX.
No. Wow. I was just meaning like a funny like comedy version where someone's like, "Hey, when you're a wolf, you ever bang another wolf?" Or
Those two things aren't mutually exclusive.
That's
You
true. I
can have a
guess they
funny
could be in
comedy and have it be a porno.
Wow. All right, let's Hollywood or the porn industry. Let's make this happen.
I'm sure there
You
is. I'm sure
heard
there
it here
already is
first.
something out there.
That's true. Well, maybe we dig hard enough.
Maybe not with the wolves and bats. That's ours. So if you do that, we get credit somewhere in the credits. Anyway, so yeah, like Dracula. We all know the story. I kind of thought this was going to have more, like a more of a unique, turn on the story or something. Like obviously it's going to be the same basic story, but I was a little surprised how straightforward it was, and we'll get into that at the end. But and like the first issue does start off making it seem like it's going to be kind of unique because it starts off in England, so we don't go to Transylvania at all in this. And Renfield is already in England in an asylum. He's eating bugs because his master has taught him how to take the life from bugs, the precious blood from flies, and all that stuff. Do you think Dracula actually showed him anything, or was it just like Renfield's fever dream of like, he knows Dracula eats or drinks blood, and so like he's going to do the same?
So, like, from my understanding, from all the trying to go through all the variations and then trying to remember the like book two. I think it's like, yeah, he promises him like eternal life if he serves him, and like his way to that is like, I'll basically like, I'm gonna start you on, look, there's tiers to the vampire plan, and I'm gonna start you on the bottom tier, which is flies, vermin, things like that, and you work hard enough, then you can work up to the next tier, which will be maybe like bunnies, sheep,
Rabbits, yeah.
rabbits, things like that. And then once you've served really well, I don't know, maybe 1,000 years, something like that, then maybe we'll see about, getting a human for you.
Now here's a question: has he bitten Renfield? Like, is Renfield being drained and stuff? Like, is he under his spell?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's kind of I guess the assumption is that like he's bitten him, but he hasn't drained him. But in order technically for you to like, I guess, become one with Dracula, you have to like drink of his blood.
I was wondering about that because there's so many different vampire sets of lore, like from Buffy to this, to, whatever. Like have totally forgotten what the actual original lore was. So I was like, wait, because it used to be. I remember a couple times it was like, if you just get bit, then you will become a vampire, kind of like a zombie or something. Like it's a virus in your blood. But then it was like, I think in Buffy they introduced like, oh no, you gotta like drink vampire blood and be on like death's doorstep from having your blood drained. And then I know that in Dracula he gets bit, like Keanu Reeves gets bit by the wives of the brides of Dracula, by Monica Bellucci, and oh, she bites him on like the inner thigh or something, doesn't she?
Yeah, he gets bit on like his,
On his dick,
nipple, his inner thigh. Yeah,
on his main root.
Yeah,
His main vein.
it was a drain the main vein. That's
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah.
It has a whole new meaning in Dragon.
So yeah, he gets bit and doesn't get turned. So I guess in Dracula lore, like traditional Dracula lore, it doesn't turn you unless you drink of Dracula's blood.
That or maybe like completely drink, because you got to think at least. Again,
I was
yeah,
gonna
there's
say, because like in this, they don't show Lucy or Amina drinking his blood, but then when they're dead, technically they come back to life. So
yeah. So there's a little bit of, and then it could be maybe just because it's all, for lack of a better term, polluted with years and years of different lores, kind of mixing, messing up the pure story
yeah,
of.
what is the continuity? That's what I need to know as a real comic book fan. I need a clear line of continuity running through everything. Now, actually, this is actually pretty much like continuity, where like in comic books, where it's like someone did something and then someone changed a little bit and did something else, and then 10 years later it looks nothing like it originally did, and then someone goes, it's not my Superman or whatever, and then like and then they argue, and then eventually they'll go back to something from like 10 years earlier, and they're like, oh, okay, then that's fine, and then we'll go from there now, and they'll just forget about that part they didn't like, the part that no one was in agreement on it being canon or whatever. So but yeah, so like I said, we start off with Renfield in the asylum. His doctor is trying to talk to him. Now this doctor is Mina's dad.
Yeah, Dr. Seward.
Well, we got some characters. They just kind of throw these characters at you, I think, assuming you know them from the movie. So we have, Dr. Seward, who is Mina, the love interest of Keanu Reeves from the movie, Winona Ryder, right?
Yeah.
So Winona Ryder plays Mina in the Coppola Dracula from the 90s. And but in this, like, just doesn't. I did like that they didn't do like actor faces for this. That I would not think Martin Simmons would do that, but I could see a lesser artist being like, yeah, Dracula, Gary Oldman, like, or something like that.
Yeah, because even though this is like pretty close to like, because it's Universal, a little closer to like the Bela Lugosi one, it still doesn't like look like, it's got like the like classic Dracula look, but it doesn't like look like him. It definitely has a unique
yeah, it looks more like Bella, but it's not fully Bella, which I appreciated. And same, and like, and then there was no like big poofy hair like Gary Oldman or anything. So which was a look. I mean, I love the Gary Oldman Dracula look, but it is very,
I mean, every look of his in that movie is from poofy white hair to his like
blood armor,
very like
weird armor,
suave, sexy. Well, the weird armor is cool, yeah, but I'm talking like the suave sexiness when he's in London.
Well, but that's a weird choice, isn't it? Like just red, like muscle. Like I thought that was very weird as a child. I'm like, his armor is fucking odd.
I loved his armor as a kid. I was like, it was badass.
I thought it was badass, but it doesn't look like a suit of armor.
No, it's true. It looks like muscles.
Yeah, it just looks like striated muscles in a suit, and it doesn't look like metal because it's red. So I was like, what is that? Does he have plastic? Like, what is this? He's got plastic molded body armor. But yeah, so like, yeah, in that movie, every point in Dracula's, life or whatever that we see him in, there's like before he's Dracula, when he's Vlad or whatever, then it's like Dracula old man, then it's young Dracula. Each of those has a look. And then even when he's like the wolf and he's taking Lucy, is that her name? The friend?
Yeah.
Yeah. When he's taking Lucy, he's like a werewolf body, which is freaky and weird. And this does not do that. This book tames it down a bit, just stays with the creepy aspect. Also, we're not going through as many things, like as many parts of his life. This is strictly during the suave, hot phase in the movie, but he's not suave, hot Dracula, like with the hat and the blue glasses or whatever. Like he's he looks like Bela Lugosi style Dracula still, where he's like in a tuxedo basically all the time and has a cape.
Yeah, he's like that. He's just a middle European.
Middle European.
I was trying to think of the term, but yeah, like he's
Eastern European.
From Eastern European, yes. Sorry, Middle European, you know what I mean.
Middle European's like Austria. Transylvania, I assume, is like where Estonia and Latvia and all of that stuff would be, or like Romania. That like line from like Finland down. It could be any of those, any of that area.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we start off uh with Renfield in this asylum. He's talking to his doctor. He's eating flies. He's telling him like, "I will serve my master. I know how to get the power from these little creatures, and I'm getting more powerful all the time." Um, and the doctor's kind of like, they all think this is fake because like this is also one of the themes of Dracula is like it's that prime time during like the Enlightenment where there's still superstition and I was going to call it superstition. Uh, so it's like, yeah, superstition and, you know, kind of supernatural beliefs. But then at the same time, science is becoming more and more of a thing. So um, there are scientists who are like, I reject anything supernatural. So it's got to be like a blood disease or whatever. So that's basically his doctor is of that mind. He's talking it over with like Jonathan, who is the Keanu Reeves character. And this was weird. It seemed like Jonathan never went to Transylvania like following Renfield because John, correct me if I'm wrong. In the original, at least from what I remember in Dracula, the one from the 90s, and I guess maybe even the one, I don't know, I haven't seen the one from with Bela Lugosi for a long ass time, but um, Jonathan goes to Transylvania to finish some like, you know, real estate deal with Dracula that Renfield was supposed to do, but he went crazy and came back and couldn't finish it. Um, so then he comes back after having like the brides attack him and kind of knowing what Dracula is a bit more. In this, that doesn't happen.
No, and see, and then that is closer to the book because in the book, Renfield comes back and is crazy, and then Jonathan goes to finish. In the original Bela Lugosi one, it's Renfield that we see him go, but then we see Renfield come back, and Jonathan didn't go to in that version. Jonathan
Okay.
didn't
So
go.
maybe they're just going straight from that.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely because when you think Universal monsters, they basically are like telling you like the classic
40s.
like yeah, exactly, like Bela Lugosi, Lon Chaney Jr., um, and that just that cast of, you know, all the black and white ones that everybody, you know, when they think of an image of an old black and white horror, one of the main creatures, that's what they think of. So I feel like they pulled most of this one pretty much directly from that.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel better about it.
In that one, my wife and I we watched that last year. We went to the theater. We saw a double feature of that and Daughter of Dracula. And I will say I hadn't seen it in a long time. And Renfield in that one is definitely, um, he definitely is very present in it and very like the actor in that one. I forget the gentleman's name, but he's definitely one of the best
Tom
things in
Waits.
that movie too. Because his Tom Waits is awesome too. The guy who plays Renfield in the Bela Lugosi Dracula is one of the best parts of that movie too. Is he's so over the top, but not in a like bad way. Like it's very like
You got to tell that
pardon
rooster to
the
shut up.
yeah. um it's very like over it's because of how everyone else is playing for the time. It's very like overly ridiculous, so it makes it creepy, and that's kind of how it's playing in this. That and I mean, he kind of looks like was it what's the lead singer of uh
Gerard Way.
yeah, Gerard Way. That's what I
I
was
thought the same thing. I'm like, he looks like Gerard Way without a nose for some reason. Yeah, I think it's just supposed to be like he's so pale, he has like zero features because he's so drained of blood and whatnot. But he does look a lot like Gerard Way in this. Who? What was it? My Chemical Romance, right? That's the band he was in.
yeah, yes, thank you. I mean, My Chemical Romance.
I'm not an emo guy, so don't know anything about that. And I'm probably pissing people off by saying it was emo. I don't know. I assumed that's what it was because I didn't listen to it in high school. So
I listened to some of it. I thought that's what it was called, but whatever.
lame. You go listen to the Black Parade, John. I will stick with Metallica and Tool and I don't know, whatever the fuck Deftones. I was trying to think of like what I listened to in high school. It's got to be edgy and cool and whatever. Not not whiny emo.
I listened to them too. I actually, I didn't get into the Deftones until much later. But anyway,
But yeah, well, it's good to hear that this is, more in line with one of the continuities, and especially if it's like the original movie one. So that's cool. Maybe that's why. Like, I thought, well, this is kind of like a weird setting, um, but yeah. So we get the doctor. The doctor's like I said, he's all about science, not about superstition. So he's like, maybe it's some kind of blood disease. That's why he's so pale and anemic. Um, and if I cure him of the blood disease by like transfusions and stuff, that's maybe an idea I got for like curing him, and we could figure that out. So that's like his idea going forward. We meet his daughter Mina and her friend Lucy, and immediately, I mean, this is literally almost exactly like the story of Dracula from the movies or whatever, where it's just like, I mean, we meet them, like eventually Dracula, who has come over on a ship, which that they say that Renfield was found on a ship where everybody was murdered, and that's why he's in the asylum, because they think he killed all these people. But he's so small and frail and weak and anemic. Like, how could he kill these strapping sailors or whatever? But it turns out, like, of course, Dracula was the one on the ship that was traveling with Renfield, assumedly, and so Dracula is now loose on London, as Renfield is thrown into the asylum. So Dracula is going around stalking women in the streets. He's a wolf form. So I gotta say, there's a lot of things about this book that I was like, like writing, whatever. It wasn't as transformative as I wanted it to be, but good God, the art is so fucking good in this book. And I'm not really one to buy books for just the art, but I definitely wouldn't mind some of these as like prints or posters or something. What do you think?
oh yeah, like so Mina and Lucy are talking about, Mina has like a fascination because her dad works in the asylum. So she's got a fascination with, some of the stories she hears, and then especially because she was there the night Renfield came in. And so like she and Lucy are talking about the horrible things that, they heard about happen on the boat. And I love the paleness in the sepia kind of tone of Mina and Lucy talking, and then there's this splash behind them of like just like blood red and like shadows of like the things they're talking about on the ship, like the captain like strung up to the wheel, and then like just crew members like splayed over different parts of the ship, just like obviously hanging over limp, like, and they're talking about like the captain's throat was like ripped out from him, and goddamn, like they definitely don't stray from kind of like we were saying, like Dracula was thirsty earlier. Lucy is thirsty. She's like,
She's
oh
always
man,
thirsty in like every
yeah.
rendition I've seen.
But like her, like, oh man, I could use someone ripping at my throat with their teeth. Like, God, calm down, girl.
Are you saying that she deserved it, John?
I mean, I think she was asking for it. If it sounds like it there, if Dracula was like eavesdropping on this conversation, he'd be like, "Oh, I got you, girl."
Yeah, I mean, we got what was she wearing? That's what I need to know. But
Wow. We do not condone any of that.
no, these are all jokes, folks. These are all jokes.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, obviously this has a very predatorial bad guy in it, which I think is fine. It's a bad guy. It's Dracula. The thing is, like, he's supposed to be sexy because I mean, I don't think anyone would actually think he was sexy until like he's got them under his thrall, right? Like most of the time they're just horrified by him. Like if he's in wolf form or whatever, or he's just attacking a random person on the street, they don't look very like sexified by him, like taken by his, beauty or something. It's only until he like gets in your mind and has to like, visit you at night, use his eyes to like give you the hypnotism or whatever, then he's sexy or whatever, right? So I think he's a pretty good monster because like you can't help yourself once he hypnotizes you, kind of thing. But he is, he's ripping your fucking throat out, right? So, but But yeah, like this literally this story just progresses like as it does in the movie or the book, and it's like, okay, people are dying, Dracula's on the streets, Renfield is warning people of him, no one's believing him. Like you said, Lucy's thirsty. She's like, oh, like all these women are dying. I wish someone would fucking rip my throat out, like in a sexy way or whatever. I don't know why she says that. Like she said, she's super thirsty, but she is in like every like version of Dracula that I've seen, except maybe the book. I don't know. I don't remember her in the book being like that, but I mean that was written in the 1800s. So
I think she is seen as promiscuous in the book, but they don't, obviously I don't think they go as hard in the paint. I don't remember.
that's like she showed you her collarbone or something. I don't know.
Oh, or her ankles.
Yeah. Ooh. Hot, sexy ankles. But in like I remember in the Dracula movie, the one from the 90s, she's like talking about sex all the time or whatever. So it was like, okay,
oh yeah,
she's supposed to be like that.
I remember like all the other side characters who are definitely like barely. I think only one is mentioned. Most of them are thrown away in this, but like she has the suitors that come, and the one guy Quincy who is in this. I guess he owns the club that they go to, but Quincy comes and she's like, "Oh, can I touch it, Quincy?" And then she pulls his like big Bowie knife out of his holster thing or whatever. So
Sheath.
and it's sheath. Thank you. I couldn't remember the word. The word would not come to me. But yeah, she's obviously very like a little extra in the adaptation since the original.
Yeah, well, that's like I said, it pretty much is exactly as I've seen it and everything else. There's like some kind of ball that everybody goes to. Dracula shows up to that. And that's where like Mina sees him for the first time, and then we also see like the doctor's meeting with a new doctor who's come to town to talk about. He's like the only doctor nowadays in this area who's like, no, superstition is there for a reason because there is evil and it exists. And my name is Van Helsing. So this is, as I remember him, it is Anthony Hopkins' character, right, from the movie.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins, and I think he's also been played by like Peter Cushing and then Laurence Olivier. And yeah, so he's always like the crackpot doctor. He's a doctor. He's a man of science, but also he's a little quirky, a little weird, talking about the undead and vampire Nosferatu, and they're like, well, okay, it's a little weird, but
it's like they're like, he's a doctor who's well respected and people like him, but they're not really sure if he just like is a fake doctor that everybody has been fooled by, or if he's actually legit believes in this stuff and for a reason that's worth believing in or whatever. So specifically Mina's dad, Dr. Seward, is like the one who's like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And Jonathan, Keanu Reeves' character, is like, no, you should totally listen to him, my future father-in-law. I think he's got a lot of good things to say. So, but like, it seems like Dr. Seward is like, nah, I'll stick with the real science. Thanks. So pretty much everything, like I said, is happening as it is, like in the movie, because we see like Mina. Is it Mina going? No. Lucy goes to bed, and she immediately gets like approached by Dracula, and they don't go into. I wasn't sure how far they were going to go because sometimes comics can be pretty boundary pushing in regards to like nudity or whatever, but or sexual content or whatever, mature content. But this is all like kind of implied, There's no like real scenes of any like sexual stuff. It's all pretty straightforward. Like Dracula flies into her room as a bat, and like she's having kind of like sexy dreams, I guess we'll call it, or whatever, where he's like invaded her mind. But there's no nudity or any kind of sexual stuff at all. The most is that he like when he comes into her room as a bat, he turns into Dracula and falls on top of her. And then like you just see like blood on her neck and his teeth, like a close up of his teeth. And, so that's like, I don't know what you thought about that. Did you think they were going to go like hardcore in this one?
Yeah. I wasn't sure how they were going to work it. Cause like and it's nice, like you said, Renfield's kind of talking a little bit about you know, him feeling and kind of like talking out to his master, and then you see like Lucy's kind of like in a gasping on. She kind of see. It looks like she sees him outside, maybe, and then like she gets transfixed, and then yeah, she like goes to the bed, and she's like kind of like splayed out a bit, and then yeah, he flies up in as a bat, and then
She's splayed out, but she has like a dress on, and it's not like
no, like yeah, it's
sexual
like an
necessarily, you know?
no, yeah, it's like an one of those sheer nightgown things
It's
or
like she's
whatever, but
giving in to him, but
exactly.
not like trashy or whatever.
No, and again, like the art is fantastic for this because it's very like, and especially in these parts, it's very like like is it real? Is it a dream? Kind of like mixture of things
It's almost like
because
she's swooned for him or something, you know? Like
yeah,
that, where she's like fallen back on the bed and is, waiting for him to take her or something. But
yeah, and it's amazing looking
yeah, I mean, truly, like all of these scenes are fantastic. Now, Martin Simmons, I believe he does all this in on paper, like it's not digital. I would love to see this original art. Like, I can't imagine it. It must look fucking amazing. So
for real. I'd love to see a original and like yeah, like you said, definitely there could be some of these pages that would be amazing prints, but also I'd love to see him do a time lapse of something like that. I would love to see how it like came together.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just straight like painting, right? And then
For sure. I just mean like,
he'd be like
it'd be
Bob
cool.
Ross, except he's like he's doing some like super violent, fucked up monster. And he's like, oh, there's a happy imp and a happy ghoul.
We'll just draw some a beautiful little river of blood over here.
Exactly, yeah. A river of blood. Yeah, just a blood red moon and oh look, there's a werewolf. I would love that as well. But yeah, a lot of this would be really cool as like a poster or prints or whatever, like you said, or if I had like $10,000 to throw around, like an original art piece. But yeah, so we get to like the next section where like Lucy is now dead. People are at her funeral. They see like Dracula standing at the gates because he can't go, I guess, into the cemetery because it's hallowed
Hallowed
ground.
grounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're like, he's weird, but I guess he cared about Lucy or something. And so, yeah, I mean, once again, just like the movie, a lot of this is, or at least like the stories that it's probably like an amalgamation of all the different stories that I've read and seen and all that. Like, I don't remember specific ones, but a lot of this is kind of like common knowledge Dracula stuff. We do see that Mina, I guess, trying to figure out what happened to Lucy. She is suspecting like Dracula had something to do with it. She knows that Renfield was one, in her dad's care, two, was talking about his master killing people and stuff. So she goes to talk to him to figure out exactly what he knows. And I wasn't sure if this is what happened, but did Dracula see her first at the cemetery, or did he see her like through Renfield? And that's why he gets obsessed with her.
He sees her initially when they go out to
Oh, the
the ball
ball,
or
right? Yeah, he like makes eye
or the
contact with her.
yeah, they see each other at the ball or play, whatever they went to. And Lucy's smitten with him at first, so that's why it's like easy prey. And then he goes after Mina, and I think that because that's more of like a fascination he has, and maybe it's kind of partially through this because you see like it's in this part he's talking with her and you kind of see Dracula seeing her through his eyes, so that might be part of that, like maybe that makes Dracula a little more aware of like, oh, like maybe this person is special, and because Renfield obviously thinks she's special too because she's nice to him even though he's in this asylum, and that kind of brings a little bit of humanity back to Renfield, who's been up to this point, like, the blood of flies, and like my master will kill them, and I will be one with him, and yeah.
Yeah, like, and that was like something that happens later on the story. Like Renfield's like, she was nice to me because he like, or like when she was visiting him, she didn't treat him like a monster or something. So, but yeah, pretty much. Eventually, people like specifically Van Helsing and like Doctor Seward and everybody's like, wait a second, we think this Dracula guy is real. So we're gonna go after him because he's killing my Mina, and like, because they eventually Dracula goes after Mina, and like bites her, and then she's like dying. She has not fully transformed, right? She's not fully died, right? Right away.
Basically, she's not, fully succumb, but he's going to turn her, basically, is what she's getting at. And that's kind of what we're learning a little bit through Renfield. Like you said, he's not, it's not all through his point of view because it changes around a little bit, but we do get a little bit of the back end of that through him, like him being like, I want this life and I don't. And also he does, again, she was nice to him, so he's kind of like, well, I'm jealous because it looks like she's gonna be special and maybe like a bride to him, but also I want that. And so why is she getting this?
So all the men that love Mina, of course, they're like, now we got to kill Dracula. So they set up a plan where they open the door of Renfield, and then they're like, okay, he'll go to his master, and we'll follow him, and that's what they do. And they follow him to like a crypt or something like that. And then once Renfield gets there, and they follow him, he's talking to Dracula, and Dracula hears all the guys upstairs coming down, and he's like, hey, you fucking led a bunch of people here. And of course, he's pissed about that. So, or at least that's what I thought was going on. Am I right about that?
Yeah, Dr. Seward, they come, so like, yeah, Dracula's pissed because he's like, you fucking led them here. And he's like, no, I didn't. I'm sorry. I didn't know they were coming. And he's like, fuck you. And he throws him down the stairs. Like, it doesn't matter all the good shit you done for me. This tops it. This overrules it all. Fuck you. So he throws him down, and then he takes Mina, and they go, yeah, like you said, more into like the crypt, the back area. And then, yeah, Dr. Seward and Abraham Van Helsing and Jonathan come in, and Dr. Seward's like, oh, Renfield, like, what happened? While the other guys go off to look for Dracula.
So now Renfield is on the ground, like underneath the stairs where he fell, and his head's all bleeding and everything. So Dr. Seward and him are like having a moment where like Renfield is like, your daughter was nice to me, and that's why I cared about her. And he's basically saying like, I want to be like forgiven or something, right?
Like, absolve me of my sins, kind of, basically.
Yeah,
Even though he's not a priest, and also like Dr. Seward's not really religious because he's like a man of science.
Right. But one thing is weird. This is the only part I was like, I got to ask John about this. So Van Helsing, has left Seward and Renfield and whatnot to their devices. He has gone after Dracula by himself. He finds Dracula, who has gone, I guess, because it's daytime now. He's gone to sleep. And so he pops open a coffin, finds Dracula. He's got a cross that is also a stake that he's going to stab Dracula through the heart with. And right as he's about to do that, it's like he's possessed or something by Dracula, but then he does end up stabbing Dracula in the chest. Did you understand exactly what was going on in these panels?
Yeah, I wondered about that too. I think it was basically like Dracula, like, yeah, like he locked eyes with him, and so he tried to like overtake him with his mind, because I guess he couldn't like physically do it because it's day. I don't know. That's a little weird because it's also in the crypt, so you would think it wouldn't matter. Like, his powers are weak. So also part of the lore, during the day, even though it's daytime, like he can't be out, or shouldn't be out, but his powers are weaker. So maybe that's it. Like, so he tried to like invade his mind, but then I guess Van Helsing is more powerful, and he's able to, like drive the stake through his heart.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is how I translated this. I was like, maybe maybe the writer is doing something transformative here. And like, this is what I thought. I'm completely wrong, I think now, but I thought maybe like Dracula was transferring his essence into Van Helsing. Then Van Helsing killed Dracula in quotation marks, but now Van Helsing is Dracula.
I like that idea, and that's that's the thing too. We never, like, it looks like Dracula dies in pretty much every version, but there's always like what if or whatever. So, and I mean, I will say the splash page of Van Helsing like stabbing Dracula is it looks very apparent. Like, Dracula's life is like coming out of him through the swashes of color and creatures and stuff. So
Yeah, I think I'm wrong, but I also think that could be like they could have done that if they wanted to.
well, and I mean, spoiler alert too. They do show like a little bat at the end of the thing too. It's kind of like,
And we don't see Van Helsing after that, so I was like, maybe he did invade Van Helsing. It's like he went inside of him and became Van Hel Dracula.
maybe, yeah. You're right. We don't see
Drac
him at the very
Helsing.
end. Jack Helsing. Maybe, yeah. Maybe that was the difference part of it. Yeah, I look back at the page where he goes into him, and because it shows his teeth, but Van Helsing's teeth, but I don't see pointy teeth, so I don't know. It's cool. I mean, Van Helsing definitely kills him. He definitely stakes him, and that's like one of the coolest like splash pages in this. And then yeah, I don't know. Then we see the little like at the very very end. There's a little bat like in the like
In the light, though.
little in the light.
So
Yeah,
is it just a
exactly. So I don't know.
regular bat then?
I don't know. Probably.
Yeah, probably. I was reading too much into that, I think. But anyway, it ends with on the last page is just Dr. Seward holding the dead body of Renfield after he like forgave him or whatever. So that's it. So John, what would you give it and what do you think?
Well, I still liked it a lot. It definitely, like you said, it was kind of more towards the, it's the universal monster, so it's definitely a little closer to the Bela Lugosi version, but it definitely had its own little takes and pieces in it. We don't see Mina again. He takes Mina, but we never see her again in
Yeah, they
this.
never like show what happened to her. She was in the crypt with him, and then it was just like he did. I guess like they should have had Mina like walking behind her dad or something, so we know like, oh, she's not. Now that you killed Dracula, she's fine.
Oh, I lied. When Seward is talking with and forgiving uh, um, Renfield, there's one panel of Jonathan being like, "Oh, we thought he killed you, dear," and that's Mina. I totally missed it because it's just one little quick panel.
Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't
Um,
even see that either.
yeah, no, I totally looked past that, and again, it's kind of like it's a throwaway, and I get it, because the main thing is Dracula and Dracula dying, and then Renfield, I guess again partially his point of view, but I don't know. It's still a little lackluster, and again, I think that's for everything that the Bela Lugosi Dracula is lauded for, and especially being like one of the first, the first Dracula, one of the first vampire movies. I think Nosferatu beat it by 6 months or a year or something. Then I know they were racing because it's the same story, but they changed things because they didn't have the
No, there's
rights.
no way. How could Nosferatu be anywhere near the Universal one? Like there's sound in one and there's not in the other.
What? That's crazy.
No, I mean like seriously though. Like isn't Nosferatu way before that one?
Maybe it is, or they were trying to, but they were developing, if I remember, around the same time. But then I think they rushed production on
I
Nosferatu,
mean, it's
something like that.
possible that like talkies became a thing a year after Nosferatu came out, but that seems crazy. That like Nosferatu looks like like a movie from the like 1900, and Bela Lugosi looks like a movie from the 40s. So
Yeah.
like they look very very different. I can't imagine they were 1 year apart.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. There's something I remember about
You're
that.
wrong, John.
Okay, I'm wrong about something. But anyway, uh,
It happens
yeah. So,
often.
well, and then again, so they're like at the end here with it's interesting to see Doctor Stewart picking up Renfield, like taking his body. But and seeing the bat, there's different takes again where like does he survive? Can you really kill Dracula? And yeah, there's different versions where like there's a bat or something, at the end, the ground moves a little, or the body, like when it decomposes, like something like floats away, and it's like, oh, is he alive? Or there's a version from 1979 with Frank Langella where like he dies, but then like his cape like floats away in the breeze, and you're like, so I don't know. There's different takes on it, but this one it's good. It's Dracula is definitely this one's really good. Dracula is definitely more of like the just kind of like going on in the background of things, but it works. It definitely makes him mysterious throughout the whole thing. We don't really see him, or he doesn't really say anything except I think Van Helsing towards the end. Um, but yeah, again, I think that this is mainly like this is it's around the spooky time of year, so it's they're trying to capitalize and make some money. But I will say for that aspect of it, the art in this alone is beautiful, and it definitely like Martin Simmons' art lends itself to this like gothic horror, um, this gothic horror monster. So it looks really, really good, and everything from like individual panels to full splash pages, everything looks really, really beautiful for the story that it's telling. So, nothing spectacular and like you said, groundbreaking for uh the way the story is told through the dialogue per se. It's pretty straightforward and I don't think even like you said, kind of telling it from Renfield's perspective, but not like fully settling on that. I don't think we get anything like fancy and spectacular new from that. But the art alone in this definitely like makes it be like, oh yeah, like this was a fun version of a fun version to see in this type of in this type of way, like to see it in comic form. So yeah, overall, I would give this one a 7 for the art. I think that gives it pushes it up a little bit for me.
All
Otherwise, I might
right.
have been a 6, but a 7 with the art.
Okay. I'm gonna do something different on this one. I'm gonna split the vote here or the rating. If you're buying this purely for Martin Simmons art, I mean, I'm gonna give this a 7 or an 8. Okay, just on the art. If you're buying this to read a Dracula story, I'm giving this a 4. Like, I did not care at all about the story. And honestly, I don't even know if you would understand everything going on if you had no cultural context for it. You know what I mean?
That's true. If this is your first pickup of Dracula, like ever, if you're like, oh, I've heard about Dracula, I've never watched one of the movies or the book. Here's a comic form, and I love comics. Let's try this out. You definitely would not
Yeah, you'd be like, who the
know.
fuck are these people?
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think of it in that perspective.
Yeah, so just from that, I'm like, I can't, there's not really anything. There wasn't anything new, like if you did know the story. It didn't seem like if you didn't know the story, you'd be following it fairly well or it would be very engaging, like you'd care about anybody. So, I mean, I think this really depends, one, on the art a lot, and then two, it needs it needs you to be familiar with the story for it to really have any impact at all.
That's true,
Um,
man. I
yeah.
didn't even think of it that way.
So I did not like it. I mean, Tinian stuff, some of it is the most amazing shit ever, like the Department of Truth, and I really like World Tree, and Deviant is a new comic he's putting out. That one's good too. But like, um, then I'll read some of his other mainstream stuff. I'm like, this is not for me. This is terrible in my opinion. So like, this definitely falls into that. There's a couple that are like not my thing, but they're fine. Like Something is Killing the Children is one of those ones where I'm like, it's not my thing, but I understand why other people like it. It's just not for me. But a lot of his like mainstream like Batman work and stuff, I'm just like no. And I haven't read it, but I think he wrote like a run of Hellblazer too. I think it was a run in the mid 2000s. I think it was just when it was called like Constantine or something, or the
Is
Hellblazer.
Simmons on the art on that one too, or is he
No,
just
no.
okay? Because I was like, his
I
art
think
would be good
Riley
for
Rossmo
Hellraiser.
was on the art on that one, but um, which is also weird for Hellblazer. But I mean, I'll give the art. It's a style, right? But the um, I don't. I was reading it digitally as it came out originally, like in in 2015 or whenever it was. But I don't remember anything about it other than I was like not really like yeah or anything about it. So So I kind of want to go back, but I know his Batman stuff isn't something I care about at all, and a lot of his mainstream work isn't anything I care about. It's like when he has his own ideas and is able to write what he really wants to write, that's when he shines. So I feel like this kind of falls under his mainstream work because it's a licensed property, and it's like maybe they were like, "We love your writing, do something with Dracula. Here's a shit ton of money," and he's like, "Okay," and then does this. Not that he necessarily phoned it in or something, but just it just doesn't have the inspiration of his other stuff. And like I said, if you went into this not knowing anything about Dracula other than the name Dracula and like generally he's a vampire or something, I don't know if you'd be able to follow the story because it really depends on you having seen at least the 90s Dracula so you know who Mina and Lucy and Van Helsing and any of that stuff are. Renfield, I mean, they do like the barest introduction of Renfield. And same with like everybody else. It's just very superficial introductions. You don't really get characters or anything. So, yeah, I think this is very lacking in the writing department. So, like I said, I'm going to give it a 4 for that. Like I said, art 7 or 8, is up there art wise. So, I guess you could average those and be like, it's a 5.5 or something. But
Yeah, you're gonna make me bring. I'm gonna go with a 6 on this just because the art elevates it. But it when you said it like that, like, oh man, if you've never read a Dracula or read or seen one, like this would not be the way to do it.
yeah, and that's kind of bouncing off of that. That makes me excited to read the other Dracula book we're going to do this month because we figured we'd do like Dracula versus Dracula. So for the Patreon, we're going to do the new Matt Wagner, Kelly Jones Dracula book. It's not even out yet. I think it comes out in a week. I got it on Kickstarter a couple months ago. So um, it's it's called The Impaler. So I think it's like a prequel to Dracula where it's all about Vlad and how he becomes Dracula. And it looks fucking amazing art, and I'm sure the writing is just as good because it's Matt Wagner. So um, I can't wait to read that and see what comparison wise, these are two Dracula books that came out in the same year. We'll compare. The art will be completely different but completely amazing, like like completely different artists but fantastic either way. So I'm happy about that. But so that's what we're doing for the Patreon exclusive this month. And then the next one we're going to do for the second one this month is going to be the poll like normal. So I don't remember what do you remember what the choices were?
Yeah, for the poll, we picked out some other spooky comics. We've got Stray Dogs, Silver Coin Volume 1, The Goon, and Feral.
Okay, yeah, those are some like newer. Some of those are newer. Some of them from like the 2000s. So I will. I like. I think all of those. I think all of those are pretty damn good. So that'll be fun for you guys to vote on if you are patrons. So if you want to become a patron to get the next Dracula book and to vote on the new episode that happens, I don't know, in 2 weeks, I guess. You can become a Patreon member at patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word, and sign up for the Patreon or for the one of the tiers on there. So.
Heck yeah. Then again, like that's every month we make sure, yeah, you get to pick specifically our second episode of the month that everyone gets, and then you get that exclusive episode. This month we are bookending again with another Dracula story. So if you want to see the differences and how we compare them and how we like one over the other, maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll end up hating that one.
I doubt it, but yeah.
But it does. I will say, when Matt showed me the art, I was like, "Oh, I want to read that."
Yeah, it's he's my favorite, one of my favorite artists, like top 3 artists. So on that Matt Wagner Dracula book.
But again, I loved the Martin Simmons art in this too. So we'll see. But I'm excited either way. Again, I am a sucker for Dracula. I love just about every like.
You don't say, John. Although you didn't know Nosferatu time period, huh?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm
going to hold that on you since you're the Dracula expert.
It's also early for me, so I got up early just for recording early for Matt. But yeah, loving.
That's why that goddamn Dracula. Rooster keeps crowing because it's trying to wake everybody else up because it's morning now.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have caught it. I'm sure it's going to happen at least a few times in there. I know Matt cuts out, sometimes when we're not talking, but living on a farm now. We can't help but hear some roosters and goats and.
Thanksgiving's coming up, and I think we're having rooster instead of turkey. That's all I know.
But yeah, again, I'm a sucker for Dracula, sucker for vampire stories. So I appreciate Matt indulging me for our spooky time of the year. You know, this is one of our favorite times of year anyway. We both love horror, crime, creepy stuff. So again, I think we both kind of like lean on each other for this kind of stuff anyway. So it's fun. But yeah, patreon.com/plain comic books, all one word, if you want to vote and get that exclusive extra episode.
Well, I really want to thank our patrons real quick. Hotaku Mike, Hoku, Otaku Mike, Christian, Matthew, Kyla, Joseph, Kalia, Isaiah, and Kevin. You guys are awesome. You keep the lights on. We really appreciate it. And feel free to go vote if you would like on the second episode this month and listen to the other Dracula book we're doing for the Patreon exclusive. And with that, I think we'll see you guys on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.